I'd been carrying my old work boots to Lily's birthday party that afternoon, the steel-toed Wolverines I'd resoled 4 times since 1979, because she'd asked me to bring them the week before when we were sorting through my toolbox together. She wanted to show her friends what real construction boots looked like, the kind that built things instead of just looking expensive. The September sun had that quality it gets in Philadelphia, warm but losing its summer weight, and I'd parked 3 blocks from Crystal Gardens because the lot was already full at 2:30 for a party that started at 3. Victor's Mercedes was in the handicapped spot closest to the entrance. I should mention that I'm 71 years old, that my daughter Monica is 42, and that 5 years ago, when she married Victor Brennan, I stood in this same venue holding her hand while she promised to love him forever. I'd rented Crystal Gardens for her wedding. I didn't tell her I owned it. There were a lot of things I'd never told her, and that afternoon, walking toward the entrance with my granddaughter's birthday present and my old work boots, I was about to discover exactly what that silence had cost. The bouncer was new, maybe 25, built like he spent serious time in the gym. He stepped in front of me before I reached the door. "Event's full, sir. Private party." "I'm the grandfather," I said. "Lily Brennan's birthday." He looked past me like I hadn't spoken, then pulled out his phone. 30 seconds later, Victor appeared in the doorway wearing what I'd learned to recognize as his pharmaceutical sales smile, the one that meant he was performing for someone important. "There seems to be some confusion," Victor said, not quite looking at me. "This is a private event, family only. I am family. Monica's inside with Lily. She didn't mention you'd be attending." His voice had that careful patience people use with children and the elderly. Behind him, through the glass doors, I could see the venue filling with people I didn't recognize. 40 or 50 guests for a 5-year-old's birthday party. And in the back corner, Monica's auburn hair catching the light as she bent down to adjust something. "Victor, I RSVP'd 2 weeks ago. Monica knows I'm coming. Raymond." Now he was using my first name like we were peers, like he hadn't spent the last 18 months systematically erasing me from my daughter's life. "I think you're having one of your confused spells. This might not be the best environment for you right now." The bouncer's hand moved to my shoulder. I'm 6'2", even with the years starting to curve my spine, and I still weigh 200 pounds, most of it from 4 decades of construction work before the crane accident in 1987 put me on permanent disability. The kid's hand on my shoulder felt like an insult in a language I hadn't known I could speak. "Get your hand off me." "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the property." The bouncer's voice shifted into something official. Victor had moved back inside, where Monica's boss was watching, where the pharmaceutical executives Victor played golf with were turning to see what the commotion was about. "This is my granddaughter's birthday party. This confused old man wandered in off the street," Victor said, loud enough for the crowd inside to hear. "Security's handling it." That's when I felt my chest get tight. Not from anger, but from something colder. The same clarity that used to hit me on construction sites when I'd spot a load-bearing wall someone marked for removal. The ability to see the structure underneath the surface, to know exactly which beam you could pull before the whole thing came down. The bouncer's grip tightened. People inside had stopped talking. Monica was moving toward the door, her face confused, and I could see her mouthing, "Dad?" But Victor stepped between us, blocking her view. "I'll call the police if necessary," Victor said. I'd been carrying the boots in a cloth shopping bag from DeMarco's Hardware, where I'd bought tools since 1979, where Tony DeMarco still gave me the contracted discount, even though I hadn't swung a hammer professionally in 36 years. I set the bag down carefully on the concrete. "That won't be necessary," I said. The venue manager, a woman named Patricia Chen, who'd worked at Crystal Gardens for 6 years, came rushing across the room. I watched her face change as she got closer to the glass doors. watched recognition hit like a physical force. She pushed past Victor and the bouncer, nearly running. "Mr. Thornton, I had no idea you were attending. Please forgive this misunderstanding." The bouncer's hand dropped from my shoulder like he'd touched fire. Victor's smile didn't move, but something behind his eyes did. "Patricia, this is a family matter. We're handling it. Mr. Brennan." Patricia's voice had gone very careful. "This is Raymond Thornton. He owns this building." I watched the information travel through the crowd inside. Heads turning, whispers starting, Monica's face going white. Victor recovered fast. "I'll give him that." "Raymond, of course. I didn't realize you were coming through the main entrance. Patricia, if you could help Mr. Thornton inside." "I'll find my own way," I said. I picked up the shopping bag with Lily's present and my old boots, walked past the bouncer who'd flattened himself against the wall, past Victor, whose pharmaceutical smile had finally cracked, through the glass doors into the venue I'd purchased in 1994 with money from my settlement and savings from 15 years of side jobs nobody knew I'd worked. Lily saw me before Monica did. She came running across the polished floor in her purple birthday dress, 5 years old and perfect, shouting, "Grandpa!" with the kind of joy that can cut you deeper than any cruelty. I knelt down and held her, feeling my daughter's eyes on us, feeling the weight of what I'd been about to say to the bouncer before Patricia stopped me. That I didn't just own Crystal Gardens. I owned 7 other commercial properties on Maple Avenue. That the windbreaker I wore over my church shirt concealed holdings worth $23 million. That the confused old man Victor wanted removed from his granddaughter's birthday party had built half the commercial district this city depended on. But I didn't say any of that. I just held Lily and let her tell me about the cake shaped like a unicorn, about the magician who was coming at 4, about how Mommy said I might not make it, but she knew I would because Grandpa always kept his promises. Over her head, I saw Monica approaching, Victor beside her with his hand on her lower back, steering her like she was a vehicle he was parking. I'd spent 42 years raising Monica alone after her mother left us when she was 4. I'd worked double shifts to pay for her private school at St. Catherine's, bought her a Honda Civic for her 16th birthday, gave her $30,000 for the down payment on her salon when she was 25. I did all this on what everyone assumed was just my disability settlement and my foreman's pension. Nobody ever asked how I afforded it. Not once in 42 years. Looking at my daughter's face as she walked toward me, I realized she'd never wondered because she'd never needed to wonder. The world had provided because she deserved it. That was the story she'd been living in. But I'm getting ahead of myself. That birthday party was in September 2023, and the real story started back in January 2022, when Victor first suggested that my collection of vintage radios might be a sign of dementia. I'd been restoring radios since 1985, when a man named Howard Chen sold me a broken Philco for $5 at an estate sale and taught me how to replace the capacitors. Over the years, I'd collected maybe 60 radios, all of them working, all of them beautiful in their way. They filled my apartment on 7th Street, the modest 2-bedroom place I'd lived in since Monica moved out. Victor called it hoarding. He said this to Monica in my kitchen while I was in the bathroom. Said it in that concerned voice he'd perfected, the one that made everything sound like medical expertise. I heard him through the door, heard him say cognitive decline and early intervention and before it gets worse. When I came out, Monica was looking at my Zenith console from 1952, the one with the original tubes still glowing warm amber, and there was something new in her expression. Worry, assessment, distance. Dad, Victor thinks we should talk about organizing your space a little better. I'd restored that Zenith over 3 months in 1989, replacing every component that had failed, rebuilding the speaker cone by hand, refinishing the wooden cabinet with the same care I'd used finishing the crown molding, in Monica's first apartment. It played better than the day it left the factory. "There's nothing wrong with my radios," I said. "Nobody's saying there is," Victor assured me, his hand finding Monica's shoulder. "We just want to make sure you're comfortable, safe." 3 months later, they cleared out my apartment while I was at a cardiology appointment. Took 17 radios to Goodwill, including the Zenith. Donated my tools to a vocational school. Threw away 40 years of construction blueprints I'd saved because they were beautiful, because they showed the bones of buildings that would outlive me. They left a note on my kitchen counter. "Dad, we simplified your space. You'll thank us later. Love you. Monica." I drove to Goodwill that same afternoon. The Zenith was already gone. The clock didn't remember who bought it. That night I sat in my apartment that no longer felt like mine, surrounded by the empty spaces where my radios had been, and I called my accountant, Margaret Yee. We'd worked together since 1988, when she was a junior accountant at Miller & Associates, and I was a construction foreman with a settlement check and questions about property investment. "Margaret," I said, "I need you to tell me everything they can access. Raymond, what happened? Just tell me what they know about." She was quiet for a moment. Then, "As far as public record, you receive disability and pension. That's all anyone would find without your account access codes. The properties? All held in the Thornton Holdings Trust, completely separate. Your daughter isn't listed as a beneficiary until the trust dissolves upon your death. Until then, you're the sole administrator." "Good," I said, even though nothing was good, even though my daughter had just thrown away my life's work because her husband convinced her I was losing my mind. "Raymond, what's going on?" I told her about the radios, about Victor's suggestions that my memory was failing, about Monica believing him without question, about coming home to find my apartment stripped like a corpse. Margaret was silent for a long moment. Then she said something that changed everything. "My mother went through this. Before the end, her second husband convinced her that her sister was stealing from her, that her friends were taking advantage, that only he could be trusted. By the time we realized what was happening, he'd moved her to Arizona, and we didn't see her for 2 years. Monica wouldn't. Monica loves you, but love and awareness aren't the same thing. Watch for isolation, Raymond. That's always the next step." She was right. In April, Victor changed the locks on Monica's house, said the security system had been upgraded, that old codes didn't work anymore, that they'd give me the new code once they had it programmed properly. 3 weeks became 2 months, became, "Dad, just call before you come over. It's easier that way." My granddaughter's 4th birthday came and went. I saw Lily for 30 minutes in their driveway, while Victor watched from the front window. In August, Margaret called me on a Thursday afternoon, her voice tight in a way I'd never heard before. "Raymond, I need you to listen carefully. Victor Brennan just added himself as joint owner on Monica's business account, the one with her salon profits, the one you seeded with the down payment. Can he do that?" If she signed the authorization, yes. The bank called me because I'm still listed as an emergency contact from when you set up the account. They wanted to confirm it was legitimate. How much is in there? $147,000. I felt something cold move through my chest, the same feeling I'd had the day the crane cable snapped in 1987, that moment of absolute clarity before the weight falls. "What do I do?" "Nothing," Margaret said. "Not yet. But I'm going to start watching the account. And Raymond, be very careful how you react. If Victor suspects you know, he'll move faster." He moved faster anyway. In November, Victor and Monica invited me to dinner at their house. The first time in 7 months I'd been allowed inside. Victor made salmon, expensive wine, conversation about a vacation they were planning to take Lily on. Then, over coffee, he mentioned an assisted living community in Nevada. Said they'd been researching options for when I needed more support. Said the weather would be better for my lungs, the community had excellent medical facilities, that it was important to plan ahead. Nevada was 400 miles away from Lily. Monica reached across the table and took my hand. Dad, we're just thinking about the future, making sure you're taken care of. I don't need to be taken care of. Not now, Victor said smoothly, but in a few years, when the decline accelerates. What decline? Victor exchanged a glance with Monica. Meaningful, patient, the kind of look you give someone who's proving your point by their very resistance. The memory issues, Raymond, the hoarding behavior, the confusion at public events. I hadn't been confused at any public events. I hadn't had any memory issues. But Victor said it like established fact, and Monica's hand squeezed mine like she was comforting someone fragile, someone who needed gentle handling. I left before dessert. In February, Margaret called again. Her voice was different this time, angry. He took $89,000. What? Victor transferred $89,000 from Monica's account to something called Brennan Ventures, LLC. It's a cryptocurrency fund. Raymond, I've been tracking it. It collapsed 3 weeks ago. The money's gone. Does Monica know? The transfers were authorized from her login. Either she knows and approved it, or he has her passwords. Can we prove? Not without subpoenaing his records, which would require Monica's cooperation. You'd have to tell her everything. The properties, the trust, the real extent of your assets. Are you ready for that? I wasn't ready. I'd built my life on silence, on letting Monica believe the myth of just enough, on never burdening her with the knowledge of how much I'd sacrificed to give her everything she took for granted. The crane accident in 1987 had broken 3 vertebrae and settled for $260,000. I'd lived on $40,000 and invested the rest, buying distressed commercial properties during the savings and loan crisis, building an empire Monica didn't know existed because I'd never wanted her to feel like a burden, never wanted her to measure my love in dollars. Now that silence was the weapon Victor used against me. Not yet, I told Margaret. In May, my brother Thomas died. Heart attack at 68, quick and brutal. The memorial service was at St. Catherine's, where Monica had gone to school, where I'd sat in the back pew for 12 years of Christmas pageants and graduation ceremonies. Victor worked the room like a networking event. I watched him talking to Monica's childhood friends, to the women she'd known since kindergarten, and I saw him lean in close, saw him put on his concerned expression, heard fragments. Frequently forgets who Lily is. We're trying to prepare the inevitable. He was laying groundwork, building a narrative, making sure that when he finally moved me out of the picture, everyone would nod and say they'd seen it coming. I stood alone by the refreshment table, holding a paper cup of coffee that had gone cold, watching my daughter's husband convince her community that I was disappearing into dementia while I was standing right there, fully present, fully aware. Margaret found me after the service. She'd driven up from Delaware where she was visiting her sister, made the trip just to pay respects to Thomas. How are you holding up? Victor's telling everyone I have Alzheimer's. She looked across the room where Victor was embracing Monica, tender and protective. That tenderness is a weapon, she said quietly. My mother's husband used it the same way. Made himself indispensable while making her seem incompetent. I don't know how to fight this. Yes, you do. She turned to look at me directly. You've been fighting construction site politics for 40 years. You know how to read power structures. You know when someone's building on a bad foundation. She was right. I did know. I'd just been refusing to see it because seeing meant accepting that my daughter had chosen this man, had chosen to believe his version of me over 4 decades of evidence. In August, Victor scheduled a competency evaluation for me. Monica called to tell me about it, her voice too cheerful, too reassuring. Dad, it's just a routine checkup. Dr. Sharma is excellent, very thorough. It'll give us a baseline for your cognitive health. I don't need a cognitive evaluation. It's precautionary. Victor arranged everything through his company's medical network. The appointment is September 15th at 2 p.m. Dr. Vikram Sharma worked at a facility that partnered with Victor's pharmaceutical company. I looked him up that night, found his name on 3 research papers about early-onset dementia, found his signature on medical certifications for assisted living placements. I understood exactly what Victor was building: a paper trail, medical documentation of decline, legal justification for removing my decision-making authority. Margaret understood too. I called her that night and told her about the evaluation. "Don't go," she said immediately. "If I don't go, Monica will think I'm avoiding it because I'm scared of the results. If you do go, Victor will have exactly what he needs. Raymond, these evaluations are subjective. The doctor asks questions designed to make elderly patients seem confused. They time your responses. They note hesitations. A smart evaluator can make anyone look impaired. So what do I do?" She was quiet for a moment. Then, "How much does Monica know about your real estate holdings?" "Nothing." "Your poker games with the police chief?" "Nothing." "Your partnership in Chen Construction?" "Nothing." Then maybe it's time she learned who her father actually is. But I didn't tell her. Not in August, not in early September when the evaluation date approached, and Monica called twice to confirm I'd be there. I kept my silence the way I'd kept it for 42 years, and I hated myself for it, and I didn't know how to stop. September 15th was a Friday. Lily's birthday party was the following Saturday. I spent that Friday in my apartment, surrounded by the remaining radios Victor and Monica hadn't found during their purge, holding the work boots I'd worn for 35 years. The leather was scarred from concrete and rebar, the steel toes dented from dropped equipment, the soles worn thin and resoled 4 times, because I couldn't bring myself to throw them away. Lily had asked about them the week before when we were sorting through my toolbox. She'd wanted to know what Grandpa used to do before he got hurt, wanted to understand the man I'd been before I became the confused old man her father described. "I built things," I'd told her. "I built the place where your mommy works. I built the library where we read stories. I built a lot of the buildings in this city." "Did you build my school?" "No, sweetheart, but I built the church where Mommy got married." She'd picked up the boots, tried to put them on over her sneakers, laughed at how big they were. "Can I show them to my friends at my birthday party?" "Of course." Now I sat holding those boots and understanding that I'd spent 42 years building Monica's life the same way I'd built those properties, brick by brick, foundation to roof, never telling her the blueprints existed, never showing her the weight-bearing walls that held up her entire world. My phone rang at 8 p.m. "Monica." "Dad, you missed the evaluation. Dr. Sharma waited an hour." I decided not to go. Silence. Then, "Why not?" "Because your husband is building a case to have me declared incompetent so he can move me 400 miles away and take control of whatever assets he thinks I have. Because I've watched him systematically isolate me from you and Lily for 18 months. Because he already stole $90,000 from your business account and you didn't even notice. But I didn't say any of that. Because there's nothing wrong with my mind, and I'm not going to participate in theater designed to prove otherwise." "Dad," her voice broke, "Victor's just trying to help. We're all trying to help. Why are you making this so difficult?" "Ask Victor about the $89,000. "What?" "From your business account. Ask him about Brennan Ventures LLC. Ask him where the money went." I hung up. 10 minutes later, Margaret called. "Victor just tried to access the trust documents. The bank flagged it and called me. He told them he was your son-in-law and needed to review your assets for healthcare planning. What did they tell him? Nothing. But Raymond, he's escalating. Whatever you're planning to do, you need to do it now. I'm not planning anything. Then start. The next afternoon, I drove to Crystal Gardens carrying Lily's birthday present and my old work boots, and Victor had me removed from the entrance like a stranger, and Patricia Chen stopped it from becoming a police incident, and I walked into my granddaughter's party carrying the knowledge that everything I'd built was about to come down. But before it came down, I needed Monica to see what held it up. I stayed at the party for 45 minutes, watched Lily blow out her candles, listened to her open presents. She loved the art set I'd brought, showed it to every friend, introduced me as my grandpa who built things. Victor stayed on the opposite side of the room, talking intensely with Monica, both of them looking at me every few minutes, planning, strategizing, figuring out damage control. I knelt down and told Lily I had to go. But the magician isn't here yet. I know, sweetheart, but I'll see you soon, okay? When? Very soon, I promise. Monica walked me to the door. Not Victor, just Monica. Dad, we need to talk. Yes, I said. We do. Come to my apartment tomorrow, 2 p.m. Come alone. Victor should... Alone, Monica. If you love me at all, come alone. She came alone. I spent Saturday night and Sunday morning preparing. I spread everything out on my kitchen table. The property deeds, the trust documents, the bank statements showing the initial investment in 1988 and every acquisition since. The title for Crystal Gardens, the partnership papers for Chen Construction, the board membership documents for 3 commercial associations. 42 years of building an empire nobody knew existed. At 1:30 p.m., my phone rang. Not Monica, a woman I didn't recognize. Mr. Thornton, my name is Denise Kowalski. I'm Victor Brennan's first wife. The way she said, first wife, made my hand tighten on the phone. What can I do for you, Ms. Kowalski? I saw what happened at your granddaughter's birthday party. A friend sent me a video someone posted. The way he spoke to you. She stopped, started again. Mr. Thornton, I need to tell you about my father. She talked for 20 minutes, told me about her father, Edward, 73 when she married Victor in 2008. Told me how Victor convinced her that Edward's forgetfulness was dementia, his independence was stubbornness, his desire to manage his own finances was confusion. Told me how Victor isolated Edward from his friends, his church, his weekly poker game. Told me about the locked doors, the changed phone numbers, the safety measures that were really control. Told me about the $340,000 Victor transferred from Edward's retirement accounts before Denise discovered it. We settled out of court, she said. Victor paid back $200,000 in exchange for sealed records and my agreement not to pursue criminal charges. My attorney said it was the best we'd get. I've regretted it every day since. Where's your father now? He died in 2015, heart attack. I think the stress... Her voice broke. I think losing his independence killed him faster than age would have. Why are you telling me this? Because you're exactly where my father was in 2010, and your daughter is exactly where I was, believing the man she loves instead of seeing the pattern. Mr. Thornton, I have the court documents from our settlement. They're sealed, but I kept copies. If you need them, they're yours. Monica knocked on my door at 2 p.m. exactly. I let her in, watched her look at the kitchen table covered in documents, watched her face change as she started reading. Dad, what is all this? Sit down, Monica. She sat. I stayed standing. I own 7 commercial properties on Maple Avenue, worth a combined $23 million. I'm a silent partner in Chen Construction. I sit on the board of 3 commercial associations. I've been investing my settlement money and side job income for 36 years. You didn't know any of this because I never told you. I wanted you to build your own life without the weight of mine. She was staring at the property deed for Crystal Gardens. You own the venue where we had my wedding? I bought it in 1994. I've owned it for 29 years. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted you to make choices based on what you wanted, not what I could provide. I wanted you to earn your salon, drive your car, send Lily to good schools, and believe you did it yourself. I wanted you to be proud of what you built. Dad, I'm not finished. Victor changed the locks on your house to control when I could see you. He threw away my radios to make me seem incompetent. He told your friends I have dementia while I was standing right there listening. He took $89,000 from your business account and lost it in a cryptocurrency scheme. And 3 weeks ago, Denise Kowalski called me. I slid the court documents across the table. This is Victor's first wife. This is what he did to her father. $340,000. Isolation, medical evaluations, an eventual move to assisted living. Everything he's been doing to me, he's done before. It's not about protecting you or Lily or planning for my future. It's about control and money and removing anyone who might see what he really is. Monica picked up the documents, started reading. Her hands were shaking. The competency evaluation he scheduled for me? Dr. Sharma works for a facility that specializes in assisted living placements. The Nevada community he suggested? It's 400 miles from Lily. Far enough that I couldn't visit regularly, couldn't see what he was doing with your finances, couldn't interfere when he convinced you to add him to more accounts, more assets, more of everything you've built. He wouldn't. He already has. I pulled out the bank statements Margaret had prepared, showed her every transfer from her business account to Brennan Ventures LLC, showed her the cryptocurrency fund collapse, showed her the losses. Your salon generated $147,000 in profit over 6 years. He took $89,000 and lost it in 3 weeks. Did he tell you about that investment? She was crying now. He said it was for our retirement, that his company had excellent financial advisors. His company specializes in pharmaceuticals, not finance. Monica, he's been building a case to have me declared incompetent so he can control whatever he thinks I have. When you signed those joint account authorizations, you gave him access to everything you'd built. If I'd been declared cognitively impaired, if I'd been moved to Nevada, you would have been completely alone with him. No witnesses, no one to question the transfers, no one to notice when your business account went to zero. She was holding the court documents from Denise's case, reading about Edward Kowalski, who died at 75 after losing his independence, his community, his dignity. I need you to understand something, I said quietly. I watched you apologize to your husband for my presence at my own granddaughter's birthday party. I watched you sign papers to have me evaluated for competency. I watched you believe every story he told about my decline without once asking me if it was true. In 42 years of building your life brick by brick, you never once wondered how a construction foreman afforded your private school tuition, your car at 16, the down payment on your salon. You believed the world simply provided because you deserved it. Dad, I'm sorry. I don't want your apology. I want you to make a choice. I walked to the window, looked out at 7th Street where I'd lived for 42 years in deliberate modesty while sitting on assets worth $23 million. You have 1 week to decide your future. You can stay with Victor and believe his version of reality, and I will respect that choice. I'll remove myself from your life completely. Or you can file for divorce, remove him from all your accounts, and start rebuilding what he's damaged. Those are the only 2 options. I won't be the confused old man he's been performing for your friends. I won't be declared incompetent by a doctor on his company payroll. I won't be moved to Nevada. Choose him or choose truth, but choose fast, because in 7 days, I'm restructuring my holdings, and anyone who wants to destroy me will find they've been building on land I own. Monica left without answering. I didn't hear from her for 3 days. On Wednesday, Margaret called. Raymond, something's happening. Victor tried to refinance Monica's salon building this morning. The bank called me because the property's actually held in your trust as collateral for the original loan. They wanted to confirm you were aware of the refinance request. Tell them no. I already did. But Raymond, this is aggressive. He's moving fast. So am I. I'd been making calls since Monday. Judge Harold Webb, who'd presided over Victor's sealed settlement with Denise. Chief Martin Reyes, who'd played poker with me for 15 years. Tom Chen, whose construction company built half the commercial district and whose father Howard taught me about radios in 1985. County Assessor David Kim, who'd processed every one of my property purchases since 1988. I didn't ask for favors. I just made sure they knew the truth about who Victor Brennan was and what he'd tried to do. The court documents Denise provided weren't sealed anymore, not to people who needed to know. On Friday, Monica called. I filed this morning. Divorce papers. I also removed Victor from all my accounts and changed every lock in the house. I closed my eyes. How's Lily? Confused. She doesn't understand why Daddy's not here, but she's okay. We're okay. I'm proud of you. Dad, I'm so sorry. I should have seen. You saw what he wanted you to see. That's what makes him dangerous. But you saw the truth when it mattered. What happens now? Now I make sure he understands that destroying people has consequences. I didn't go after Victor publicly. I didn't need to. I simply restructured my holdings. The commercial lease for Victor's satellite pharmacy office came up for renewal in October. The building owner, who happened to lease the land from me, decided not to renew. No reason given. Just business. The construction company Victor had been courting for a partnership deal suddenly stopped returning his calls. Tom Chen had mentioned to them that Victor's business practices weren't quite what they seemed. The country club where Victor entertained pharmaceutical clients revoked his guest privileges. One of the board members had played poker with me for 12 years and didn't appreciate men who stole from their wives' businesses. Victor's regional manager received an anonymous package in November, court documents from his settlement with Denise, bank records showing the cryptocurrency losses, a timeline of his systematic isolation of Raymond Thornton. The manager requested a meeting with Victor that lasted 40 minutes and ended with Victor's immediate resignation. I never made a public statement, never sued, never confronted him directly. I just made sure that everywhere Victor turned in Philadelphia, someone knew exactly who he was. By March, he'd moved to Denver, far enough that no one knew his history, far enough that he could rebuild. Monica and I didn't talk about it. Some things don't need words. 16 months after Lily's 5th birthday party, I'm standing in my apartment workshop teaching my granddaughter how to solder a connection on a 1952 Zenith radio. She's 6 now, focused and careful, her tongue between her teeth, the way Monica used to do when she was concentrating on homework. The radio is the one they donated to Goodwill, the one I thought was lost forever. Margaret tracked it down through 3 resale shops and a private collector, paid twice what it was worth to get it back. It needed new tubes and a complete rewiring, but the wooden cabinet was intact, and now the amber glow fills my workshop while Lily learns to fix broken things. She doesn't understand why her father doesn't visit anymore, why Mommy cries sometimes when she thinks Lily isn't watching. She only knows that she spends every weekend at Grandpa's apartment now, that Mommy never says she has to leave early, that the locked doors and restricted visits disappeared like they were never real. The radio crackles to life. Lily squeals with delight as music fills the room. Some big band standard from 70 years ago, the sound warm and alive. "We fixed it, Grandpa." "You fixed it," I tell her. "I just showed you how." Monica picks her up at 6. She looks tired but lighter somehow, like she's been carrying weight for years and finally set it down. "Dad, we're having dinner Sunday. Will you come?" "Of course." "Lily wants to know if you'll bring your work boots again. She's been telling her class about the buildings you made." "I'll bring them." After they leave, I sit in my workshop surrounded by radios that play beautiful music, holding the boots that built half this city's commercial district, thinking about the question I asked at Lily's birthday party, the one that's been echoing through 16 months of reconstruction. If your family only values you when you're useful to them, they've already told you everything you need to know. But here's the real question. Have you been hiding who you are to protect them, or to protect yourself from discovering who they really are? I spent 42 years building Monica's life in silence, never showing her the foundation, never teaching her to read the blueprints. I thought I was protecting her from burden. Really, I was protecting myself from the possibility that my sacrifices might not be seen, that my love might not be enough, that the empire I'd built might matter less than the story she wanted to believe. Victor showed me the cost of that silence, showed me what happens when you let people build their understanding of you on myth instead of truth. Monica saw it too. She saw what she'd almost lost by choosing comfortable lies over difficult truth. She's teaching Lily different lessons now, showing her how Grandpa worked, what Grandpa built, why truth matters more than comfort. According to the National Center on Elder Abuse, 1 in 10 Americans aged 60 and older has experienced some form of elder abuse, with financial exploitation being the most common type. Family members commit over 90% of elder abuse, often isolating victims before systematically draining their resources. The average financial loss for victims of elder financial abuse exceeds $120,000, but the emotional cost of family betrayal has no dollar amount. If you're listening to this from your car in Phoenix, your office in Boston, your kitchen in Portland, wherever you are, I have one question. Who in your life knows the real story of what you've built? Not the myth, not the comfortable version, but the actual foundation you poured. Because the people who love you can't defend what they don't understand. And silence, however well-intentioned, is the first tool that predators use. Tell me where you're listening from. Tell me what you would have done. And if this story meant something to you, if you recognized anything in Raymond's journey, or Monica's choice, or that moment when the truth finally mattered more than peace, let me know. Subscribe if you want more of these stories. They're all true in the ways that matter. The Zenith is playing Ella Fitzgerald now, 70-year-old music sounding new again because someone took the time to fix what was broken. Lily will be back Saturday. We're going to start on the 1947 Philco next. Some things are worth rebuilding. Some truths are worth telling, even if it takes 42 years to find the words.